Most people aren't broke because of a lack of money. They're broke because of a poverty blueprint etched so deeply into their subconscious, it governs every decision they make. Every missed opportunity, every fear, every excuse. You can hand a broke man $1 million, and within months, he'll be right back where he started. Not because he doesn't want wealth, but because he doesn't know how to receive it, hold it, command it. See, money is never the root. The root is internal. The root is belief. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." Most people? They live every day proving they can't. Not because the world told them so, but because the voice in their mind has been whispering it since they were children. That money is hard. That success is for others. That ambition is dangerous. That it's noble to settle. And so they do. They settle for the job they hate. The paycheck that barely covers rent. The same loop every day, secretly praying that one day, something, anything, will change. But change never arrives by accident. Change is designed. Let me say this with no hesitation, broke is a mindset. It's passed down like an heirloom, like a curse. You saw your parents stress over bills. You watched arguments break out over overdraft fees. You were told, "We can't afford that," more times than you were told, "You can be anything you dream of." And now you speak those same limitations over your own life. Silently, subtly, but relentlessly. Understand this. Wealth is not just about what you earn. It's about what you believe you're worth. That's why lottery winners lose it all. Why entrepreneurs sabotage their own rise. Why dreams die quietly in comfortable jobs. Because the internal thermostat was never changed. You were taught how to survive, not how to win. And survival is the enemy of prosperity. Napoleon Hill wrote, "There is a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it." Most people wish for abundance, but they're not ready for it. Because readiness requires responsibility. It demands vision, discipline, grit, and above all, it demands a radical shift in who you believe yourself to be. Look around. How many live on autopilot? Wake up, sit, repeat. Not because they love it, but because they fear the unknown more than they hate the familiar. Because the cage, though painful, has become a place of comfort. That's the real prison. Not poverty, but mental stagnation. If you want to stop being broke, stop thinking like someone who is. Riches don't come from more hours. They come from more clarity, more courage, more connection to a purpose larger than your excuses. It starts when you stop treating your life like a reaction and start building it like an architect. Brick by brick, belief by belief. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Edison failed over 10,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Lincoln lost dozens of elections before becoming one of the greatest presidents in history. What made them different? Not luck, not privilege, but an unshakable inner decision. I will not live small. Most people stay broke because they are more loyal to their comfort than to their calling. They know what they should do, but they won't do it. Not because it's impossible, but because they've trained their mind to believe it's safer to stay still. That safety is a lie. The most dangerous place to be is in a life you know you were never meant to live. You want to change your life? Burn the blueprint that keeps you broke. The mental script that says, "I'm not enough." Tear it out. Rewrite it. Not with affirmations alone, but with action. With proof. Prove to yourself that you are who you've always suspected you could be. Not one of the greats was born with certainty, but every single one chose it. Over and over again. In the face of doubt. In the silence of rejection. In the darkness of discipline. And that choice? That decision? It built empires. You don't need more luck. You need more alignment. Your habits must mirror your goals. Your environment must match your ambition. Your thoughts must be filtered through a lens of power, not panic. Because if your mindset stays broke, no amount of money will ever be enough. It will vanish. It will slip through your hands like water. This is your awakening. The life you want will not be handed to you. It must be demanded. Not from the world, but from yourself. From the deepest part of you that remembers what it was like to dream without limits. The version of you that believes again. That moves again. That builds, not because it's easy, but because it's worthy. You were not born to chase checks. You were born to create change. But it starts with the courage to look inward and say, I refuse to think like a broke man anymore. I refuse to act like one. I refuse to build a life around fear and call it humility. The new blueprint begins here. Because once you tear up that old blueprint, the one made of fear, limitation, and borrowed beliefs, you make space for a new design. A design built with intention, not inheritance. With self-trust, not self-doubt. And this new design, it begins with clarity. Clarity is the compass of the wealthy. Not just financially, but spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. The poor chase everything. The rich choose one thing and go all in. Most people stay broke because they never stop long enough to ask, what do I truly want? They chase approval. They chase survival. They chase distraction. And in that chaos, their potential dies. But clarity? Clarity turns noise into direction. It turns hustle into precision. Andrew Carnegie didn't become one of the wealthiest men in history by accident. He knew his mission. He didn't dabble. He dominated. One purpose. One vision. One relentless pursuit. And that's what you need, to stop playing wide and start going deep. Deep into your craft. Deep into your growth. Deep into the reason you were put here on this earth. Because most people are broke not just in bank account, but in vision. They wake up with no aim. They work without intention. They want more, but they're not even sure what more means. And when the goal isn't clear, any distraction looks like a path. You want to be free? Then be precise. Say no to everything that doesn't align with your next level. Discipline is not punishment, it's refinement. You don't need to do more, you need to do less with more purpose. The ocean doesn't crash randomly, it moves with tides, pulled by gravity itself. You too must move with force, not frenzy. And once clarity is carved, the next demand is discipline. Discipline is the bridge between your vision and your victory. It's not about motivation, it's about consistency. Discipline says, I show up even when I don't feel like it. Discipline says, I train the mind before I trust the moment. Discipline doesn't negotiate with comfort. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb on a whim. He showed up day after thousands of failures. But because he decided. And that's the real key. Decision. Not wishing. Not trying. Deciding. That's what separates the broke from the rich. Broke minds try. Rich minds decide. And once they decide, they commit. Entirely. No escape plan. No fallback. Just relentless pursuit. Most people live their entire lives with the engine running in neutral. Energy burned. Time wasted. Always planning. Rarely executing. Because they're afraid to fail. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Failure is not what keeps people broke. Fear of failure is. Because failure, in its purest form, is feedback. It's refinement. It's your life sculpting you into the kind of person who can handle what you asked for. If you're not failing, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you're not earning. If you're not earning, you're staying exactly where you've always been. So instead of fearing the fall, train for the flight. You don't get to the top of the mountain by hoping it gets shorter. You climb. You sweat. You bleed. But every step is progress. Every slip is a lesson. Every bruise is a reminder that you're becoming. And what are you becoming? That's the question most people avoid. Because to answer it would mean taking responsibility. Full ownership. No more blaming parents. No more blaming economy. No more blaming systems. It would mean finally standing in front of the mirror and saying, "It's on me." That's why gratitude is a secret weapon most overlook. Gratitude isn't passive. It's powerful. Because when you stop cursing your situation and start commanding from it, your entire world shifts. You begin to say, "Yes, I was broke. But now I see why. And now I rise." Because pain, when harnessed, becomes fuel. The struggle was never meant to stop you. It was meant to shape you. Every sleepless night, every rejection, every empty bank account, all of it, part of the curriculum. You don't grow when everything's easy. You grow when the pressure gets real. And real pressure doesn't break diamonds. It creates them. You are that diamond, but only if you stay in the fire long enough. Most people stay broke because they jump out of the fire too soon. They quit when it burns. They run when the doubt creeps in. But champions? They lean in. They sharpen under stress. They become in the places most people break. That's resilience. And resilience is the soul of wealth. Because money is not just about intellect. It's about emotional endurance. Can you keep going when nothing's working? Can you lead when no one believes? Can you stand when the storm won't end? The wealthy can. The greats can. And if you're willing, so can you. But not without transformation. Not without peeling back the layers of false identity you've built. The smallness. The second guessing. The self-sabotage. Your old self can't build your new life. That version of you, he has to die. So let him go. Let go of broke thinking. Let go of, "I'll start Monday." Let go of, "I just don't have time." You do have time. You just haven't decided that your future is urgent. But now you have. And this is where the real work begins. Awareness opens your eyes, but it's courage that moves your feet. Courage to break the habits that made you poor in mind and poor in spirit. Courage to say, "No more," even when your hands shake and your voice trembles. Courage to believe in something that hasn't shown up yet, not because you're delusional, but because you are disciplined in vision. Let them call it crazy. Let them laugh. Let them roll their eyes. Every visionary in history was mocked before they were studied. Every dreamer was doubted before they were followed. You don't need their belief. You need yours. You need to stare down your own mediocrity and say, "I'm done." Done playing small. Done apologizing for wanting more. Done shrinking to fit into places that never fit the greatness inside me. You were born for expansion. For elevation. But it comes at a cost. The cost of comfort. The cost of convenience. The cost of staying liked by people who secretly hope you never change. Pay it. Because the price of staying broke is far greater. The cost of regret will haunt you longer than any failed attempt. There are people who would trade every dollar they've ever earned just to go back and try one more time. But you still have time. You still have breath in your lungs and fire in your soul. Don't waste it waiting for permission. Don't wait for the universe to hand you the life you haven't earned. The world doesn't give power, it recognizes it. You want to be seen? Build something worth seeing. You want to be respected? Earn it in the dark. When no one's clapping. When no one's watching. When the only thing holding you up is your why. Because when you build in silence, you reveal in strength. So fix the blueprint. Not just for yourself, but for your bloodline. Your children, your legacy, the generations behind you who will never have to taste the struggle you endured because you decided to break the cycle. You are the turning point, the blueprint breaker, the chain smasher. You are the one who said, "This ends with me. And greatness begins with me." Feel that power in your chest. Not hype. Not noise. Conviction. Because no one can save you from the old life except the new you. The one you're building, sculpting, forging in sweat and fire and sleepless nights and relentless mornings. This world wasn't made for the weak, but it will bend for the bold. Bend to the man who commands his destiny. To the woman who walks with certainty before the path even appears. To the mind that refuses to be shackled by fear, lack, and limitation. You want wealth? Think like the wealthy. You want impact? Move like the impactful. You want power? Stand like someone who knows they're carrying something eternal. Because you are. Inside you lives a dream no one else can see. But you don't need them to see it. You need to build it. Brick by brick. Day by day. With thoughts that lift. With habits that honor. With action that speaks louder than any apology for who you used to be. This is why most people stay broke. Because they never stop long enough to change the blueprint. Because they're scared to burn the old scripts, scared to rewrite the rules, scared to bet on themselves without a backup plan. But you're not like most people. You didn't come here to stay broke. You didn't come here to survive. You came here to rise. To design a life that fits the fire in your bones. To leave behind a story that your grandchildren will study, not because of your money, but because of your mindset. Because you did what most never do. You chose transformation. And now the world has to make room for the force you've become. So walk with power. Speak with clarity. Act with discipline. And live as if everything you touch will multiply. Because with the right blueprint, it will. Fix the mind. The money follows. Fix the habits. The life follows. Fix the belief, and everything begins. This is not the end. It's the ignition. So light the match. Burn the limits. Build the life. You are not broke. You were just waiting for permission. Now you have it.